Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great docket for you today. First, it looks like Lori Hellis forced Judge Boyce to, follow the law. Eliza Fletcher's accused kidnapper and murderer was back in court, complaining about his public defender. A politician is alleged to have been involved in the murder of a reporter who was writing negative stories about him. This is crazy. Speaking of crazy, how about Memphis? What the heck is going on there? Some good police work actually solves a cold case. And when a teacher says they're doing it for the children, I don't think that they meant this. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Listen, you know the drill. Subscribe if you have not, like if you do, leave me a comment below. Make sure you hit that little bell so that you get notifications when we go live or put up new content. And as always, you can listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. So let's get to the docket for September 8th, 2022. First, Lori Vallow news. Now, remember Lori Hellis? She's been on the program. We can link to our conversation with her, but she has kept the heat to Judge Boyce to do the right thing. Now, Judge Boyce, appears to have done everything he can to delay what ultimately he has decided to do. First, he said Lori Hellis has no standing whatsoever. Then he refused to accept her filings because her P.O. box wasn't sufficient. Well, now he finally says, after you've detailed specifically what hearing and what motions you would like to have unsealed, and Lori Hellis has listed all of the hearings that were sealed from and withheld from the public because it could be a threat to either party receiving a fair trial. Hogwash, okay? The facts are what they are. The only thing that matters is what's presented in court. Bottom line, okay? So the judge has finally set a hearing based upon Lori Hellis's motions, and that hearing is now going to be set for October 13th at 9 a.m. Schedule your calendars. Assuming it's somehow not made sealed or private and keep the public out, Willie will bring it to you for sure because this is very, very important. Now, what the court did is basically notice a couple of other people that may be designated as persons of interest, so to speak, that may have an interest in keeping the proceedings private. One, Mark Means. That's right. Mark Means may be back. Who knows? Maybe he has no objection to anything being released into the public. The State of Idaho Department of Health and Welfare for basically their motions or their filings that they've made regarding the competency proceedings as it relates to Lori Vallow. And then John Pryor, who is ultimately, obviously, the attorney for Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow's alleged husband. So we're finally going to have that hearing. Now, in some other news, let's just talk about this quickly. The judge has denied the defense's request for the district attorney to reconvene a grand jury and go back to the grand jury and basically fix what the defense believes to be charging errors. The judge has basically said in his order, hey, close enough for government work. Hey, the prosecution in these counts that they believe that there are defects charge a conspiracy. And so if there's more than one predicate act basically for the conspiracy, close enough, we'll sort it out in jury instructions and definitions and things like that. But the charge is conspiracy. Well, is it a conspiracy to commit murder or is it a conspiracy to commit the theft? So a little confusing, probably a little too far in the weeds for most people, just don't care, but it does matter. But that explains why the defense recently filed a motion for a bill of particulars, basically requesting the same thing, saying, hey, we're unclear as to exactly what took place because there appears to be multiple crimes and dates charged in this overall conspiracy. Can you provide me with a little more information, given the fact that there's like 8 terabytes of discovery in this particular case. So it moves on. So the bottom line is the defense request is denied, close enough for government's work, and we'll just move on. We will see what takes place with the request made by Lori Hellis. I'm assuming at that hearing that is now set for October 15th, Lori Hellis will actually get to argue her motion. As a citizen, not as an intervener, semantics are very important. Form over substance is really important. I'm being sarcastic there, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Because this judge has done everything he can to keep these matters sealed. And I'm telling you, I cannot think of a single time, and I've done some of the cases, worst of the worst, homicides, sexual assault cases, kidnapping, sexual assaults, the worst of the worst. And not once has the judge said, "Oh, this could be rather sensitive. Let's go ahead and close the hearing so that people that hear it somehow could find it offensive, or maybe it will prejudice the prosecution or the defense." How is the facts going to prejudice one side or the other? I don't get it. I think the judge has made a big mistake on this, and I'm not sure why the defense has not been objecting and saying, no, we want an open proceedings, regardless of how embarrassing it is, because, we don't do that here in America by having closed proceedings and the results already made before everybody shows up to the hearing. What is this, some sort of little star chamber or something? I just don't get it. Hopefully we're going to fix this issue, and hopefully things will be in the public eye for the world to see. Next on the docket, Eliza Fletcher's accused kidnapper and murderers back in court. Now, Cleotha Henderson. Now, the man accused of violently kidnapping and killing the beloved Tennessee mother, Eliza Fletcher, late last week was back in court again this morning, and his attorney pushed to have the details of his case less publicized. Now, Henderson was not handcuffed for this court proceeding, and he appeared before Judge Louis Montesi. He had on his typical prison garb as he remains in custody, and he was managed to work a slouching posture during the hearing, at times leaning against the railing that separated him from the rest of the courtroom. Now, Mr. Henderson's attorney, Jennifer Case, had asked the court to review her involvement in the case amid a conflict of interest concern. The conflict, she stated, was that her office had represented Mr. Henderson in a criminal matter back in the early 2000s. But Montesi ultimately ruled that case could proceed as Henderson's attorney. Now, Case was the public defender, also requested a gag order in the case, noting in making her argument that the Memphis police chief, C.J. Davis, had called her client a dangerous predator. I know we're given the presumption of innocence, but I'm kind of going along with the fact that he's kind of a dangerous predator. And we'll give him that dangerous predator the presumption of innocence, but it looks like he did it. Prosecutors, however, argued that the public should continue to be informed about this case. I agree. Montesi asked the court asked Ms. Case to submit a proposed order for the judge to take that under review. Now, Henderson was initially identified as Cleotha Abston, but the jurist later ordered that his name be changed in all documents to Cleotha Henderson, per the accused murderer's request. Now, I don't know where they came up with Cleotha. Is that like a combination of a couple names? But I would think if I was going to change my name, that would be one of the names I would want to change, okay? Sorry if I offended anybody with that, but seriously, what is that name? I don't get it. Cleo and the? I don't get it. Anyway, we'll keep you apprised as the funeral services are being made for Miss Fletcher, and lady runners are basically going to hold a tribute for her and go out and run at 4:20 in the morning, roughly at the time that she was in fact abducted. Many of the runners are going to run about 8.2 miles, which is what Miss Fletcher was scheduled to run that morning because she was training for the Boston Marathon, all the while being a teacher and raising 2 young children. That's why she was up that early in the morning. I had somebody make a comment in the comment section yesterday about, well, what do you expect when you go out running in running gear, basically, like somehow she deserved it. I don't care what she was running in. Nobody deserves to be kidnapped. Who knows what else took place, and then ultimately murdered. All right? Nobody deserves that. And yes, I'm a criminal defense attorney. And if I was appointed to represent him, I would represent Mr. Henderson. Okay? But I'm not. And we'll give him the presumption of innocence, but it doesn't look like he's innocent. And the fact of the matter is that somebody would think, well, what was she wearing? Her running gear? What was she supposed to go running in? And you would think that someone would be safe at 4:20 in the morning to go running. I mean, I just don't get it. People, come on. People have a right to be safe in their own community. They shouldn't have to worry about going out to go exercise because they've got a full day on their schedule, and that's the only time they can go do that. And they shouldn't have to worry about being attacked by some stranger because he's some sexual violent predator who's out there and cannot control his urges and impulses, that he has to drag somebody into a car and kill them. Come on. The problem's not with Miss Fletcher out there running in the morning. It's the fact that there's criminals out there that just don't get it. And a lot of these people that have been released early are out there committing crime, just like Mr. Henderson. And don't get me wrong, I don't want people in custody for any longer than they need to be. All right? Bottom line. But there are some people that just cannot function in society. They're not wired correctly. And usually those indicators present themselves at an early age, just like they did with Mr. Henderson. You may not like it, but tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comments below. Next on the docket, the murder of a Vegas reporter. This is just crazy. So a Las Vegas reporter might be linked to a sordid video he published exposing a Democrat official leaving the backseat of his car with a woman he was having an affair with. Now, investigative reporter Jeff German, he was 69, and he was working for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and he was found dead outside his home Saturday morning. Now, the Clark County Public Administrator, Robert Tellis, was arrested on Wednesday in connection with his death. Now, Tellis refused to deny he was involved in the killing to reporters outside his home shortly before he was picked up by the police. Tellis failed to win re-election after German published numerous exposés about his turmoil in his office. A particularly damaging revelation was about an affair Tellis was having with a colleague after German published a video of him exiting a vehicle with his lover. Staffer Roberta Lee Kennett left the backseat of the car at the same time as the official and can be seen hoisting her skirt down. The clip was published by the late investigative reporter back in May. Tellis's home was searched by Las Vegas police hours before his arrest. Police found DNA evidence allegedly linking him to the crime, and when reporters spotted him at his home while police were still investigating, Tellis refused to respond when asked, "Did you do this?" By 6 p.m. on Wednesday, police had returned to Tellis's home in tactical gear and surrounded the home while Tellis remained inside. About 30 minutes later, he was wheeled out of his home on a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance. Tellis had been railing against German for months, including an angry series of messages on social media in which he accused him of rifling through his trash and writing lying smear pieces about him. Following the arrest, the executive editor Glenn Cook said the arrest of Robert Tellis is once an enormous relief and an outrage for the Review-Journal newsroom. We are relieved Tellis is in custody and outraged that a colleague appears to have been killed for reporting on an elected official. Journalists can't do the important work our communities require if they are afraid of presenting the facts that could lead to violent retribution. The newspaper thanked the Las Vegas police for their urgency and hard work, for immediately recognizing the terrible significance of Jeff's killing. Now, hopefully, the Review-Journal, the German family, and the Jeff's many friends can begin the process of mourning and honoring a great man and a brave reporter. Now, we'll give Mr. Tellis the presumption of innocence, but are you serious? Facts, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, seriously, the reporter was reporting the facts. He Mr. Tellis may not have liked him, may have lost him his job, but really, was it the reporter that lost him his job or Mr. Tellis? I would say Mr. Tellis. Crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy. Talk about entitled, right? Thinking that you can go kill somebody who wrote something negatively about you? Wow. Crazy. Next, what the heck is going on in Memphis? I mean, we thought the whole world has lost its mind, but apparently the epicenter may be Memphis. So a 19-year-old Memphis man went on a shooting rampage across the city on Wednesday evening, killing 4 people and wounding 3, and at least live streamed at least one of the shootings on Facebook. Ezekiel Kelly was taken into custody shortly before 9:30 p.m. after a high-speed chase from Mississippi back into Memphis, according to police reports. Now, Memphis police issued its first alert about the mobile mass shooting at 7 p.m. Wednesday night, but Kelly allegedly began his rampage hours earlier, just before 1 a.m., when a 24-year-old man was shot and killed in the Highland Heights neighborhood of East Memphis. At about the same time, a suspect calling himself Zeke Huncho, Huncho, in various spellings developed on social media. But all was quiet after the shooting until just after 4:30 p.m. when police responded to a shooting near Liberty Park, not far from the earlier shooting. They found a man shot to death inside a vehicle at a gas station. Surveillance video showed a gray sedan had pulled up alongside the vehicle and the driver opened fire. For the next several hours, the situation unfolded. Specifically, 4:40 p.m., a woman was shot in the leg near I-240. The suspect fled in a dark sedan. 5:59, Kelly was live streaming when he walked into an AutoZone in northeast Memphis and began shooting. A man shot there was in critical condition, according to the police. The Facebook video was later removed from the platform. At 6:12 p.m., Memphis police got a call reporting that Kelly, as Zeke Huncho, was making threats online. At 6:56 p.m., police put out an alert about Kelly and the shootings. At 7:23 p.m., a woman was shot and killed in a carjacking several miles from the AutoZone. Kelly fled in the woman's gray SUV, and at 7:24 p.m., Kelly shot a man nearby. At 7:30, the University of Memphis goes on a lockdown. At 8:40, the AutoZone Park goes on lockdown while the Memphis Redbirds minor league team is playing. At 8:55, a woman was shot dead in southwest Memphis, not far from the Mississippi state line, and Memphis Area Transit Authority suspends trolley and bus services. At 8:56, police in South Haven on the state line respond to a carjacking. Kelly took a gray Dodge Challenger and left the SUV behind. The driver of the Challenger recognized Kelly and fled. At 8:58 p.m., Memphis police spotted the Challenger traveling north on Interstate 55 and engaged in a high-speed pursuit that ended a few blocks from Graceland. That's right, Elvis's mansion. At 9:21 p.m., Kelly was taken into custody. He's been charged with first-degree murder, and more charges are forthcoming. There's going to be a slew of charges, as well there should be, and this guy should never get out of prison. Now, this teen was arrested on 2 counts of attempted murder and 1 count each of reckless endangerment and possession of a firearm back in 2020 when he was only 17. He pled guilty to a lesser charge of aggravated assault and was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but he was released just a mere 11 months later. Really what that means, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. 3 years, you do 11 months. You do 1/3 of the actual time that one actually serves. That's very similar to what you see here. The only place it's different is in the federal system. Federal system, you serve 85% of your sentence. Everywhere else, the reality of it is the jails, the prisons are full. And so you have people getting sentenced instead of having, say, more realistic sentencing or actually make it so that people serve their sentence. They get out early, 1/3. The prisons are full for the violent people, which is what it's there for. The violent people, the ones that can't function in society. Now, obviously, if Mr. Kelly had served his full 3-year sentence, he'd still be in prison today. And 4 of Memphis's citizens would still be alive. Other public officials have reacted in horror, particularly as Kelly's rampage followed on the heels of the abduction and murder of school teacher and mom Eliza Fletcher, one of more than 100 kidnappings in the city since the beginning of the year. So kidnappings are a thing, apparently. Well, let's do some positive news, all right? A cold case solved. So Captain James Tappan Hall was shot to death in Rockville, Maryland back in 1971, and the killing remained unsolved for decades. But now, over 50 years later, officers where he worked say they finally nabbed his killer. Larry David Smith, formerly known as Larry David Becker, who's now 71, was a person of interest from nearly the beginning of the half-century-long quest for justice. He now stands accused, formally of murder, and allegedly confessed to the crime in early September, according to the Montgomery County Department of Police. Hall was a special deputy sheriff for Montgomery County and is believed to have interrupted a burglary already in progress. At approximately 10:40 p.m. on Saturday, October 23rd, witnesses entered the Manor Country Club in the 1400 block of Carrollton Road and reported that there was a man lying face down in the southeast parking lot with trauma to his head. Police and fire rescue responded and discovered Captain Hall suffering from a gunshot wound to his head. The officer succumbed to his injuries 3 days later. Becker was initially interviewed by investigators back in 1973, but was not officially named a suspect. Time passed, the case went cold, and the file was shelved, and the questions lingered for decades. In October of last year, however, the department reopened the case, terming it an ongoing homicide investigation. Those renewed efforts allegedly bore some fruit. For almost a year, Detective Kay Leggett and Corporal L. Killen of the Cold Case Unit combed through case filings, recordings, and interviewed witnesses that the Maryland police said in a recent press release. Now, through the course of their investigations, Leggett and Killen narrowed in on one person, Larry David Becker. And according to the police department, the cold case investigators learned that Becker began using the last name Smith in 1975 and moved to upstate New York, where he had been living for the last 45 years. And after allegedly learning this information, they were off to the races. On September 1st of 2020, Leggett and Killen interviewed Smith in New York. During the interview, the suspect allegedly confessed to shooting Hall. Later that same day, the detective applied for and received an arrest warrant and charged Mr. Smith with Hall's murder. Smith subsequently waived extradition and will likely be back in Maryland by the end of the week and be in court. Next on the docket, when a teacher says they do it not for the money, they do it for the children, I don't think this is what they mean. But this teacher really cares for the children. In fact, she cares so much, it looks like she's going to go to prison for it. A North Carolina teacher who's been charged with having sex with one of her students was arrested again after investigators learned she had the same student over to her home 9 times since she was placed under house arrest. Elizabeth Suzanne Bailey, who's 36, was originally arrested on 3 felony sex charges, including statutory rape of a victim 15 years old or younger, after investigators from the Iredell County Sheriff's Office learned that reports that she had had sexual relations with the student back in June of this year. Well, Bailey turned herself in on August 1st, was released on a $75,000 bond, and placed under house arrest with electronic monitoring, with a condition that she stay away from the student. That's right, she had one condition. Well, she's been arrested again as of September 2nd after police learned of additional meetups. Bailey was booked into the detention center yet again. While there, she was served with an additional 27 charges, including 9 counts of misdemeanor contributing to delinquency of a minor, 9 counts of felony intimidating or interfering with a state witness, and 9 counts of felony violation of pretrial release conditions. Now her bond is $800,000. Wow, that's kind of the way it's supposed to work, right? You go to jail, you get a bond, you follow the rules. You usually don't go back to jail. You violate the bond, you get more charges and an increased bond. And now she's really under arrest and not in the comfort of her own home. Well, Ms. Bailey worked at the Northview Academy in the Iredell Statesville School District as a science teacher. And she began work in the district as an assistant in 2010 and additionally worked as a special education teacher. We'll give her the presumption of innocence, of course, but a 36-year-old and someone under 15? I don't get it, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't get it. And next, finally, our dumb criminal of the day. We've all got a bucket list. Tell me what yours is, okay? But does getting arrested make your bucket list like this lady? That's right. A Florida woman who told police that her bucket list included getting arrested for something simple, she got her wish because she led officers on a 5-mile car chase. Now, Janiyah Douglas got her wish because she was arrested in May on felony charges for allegedly fleeing from the cops while driving her Toyota on a roadway in Key Largo, Florida, after sheriff deputies spotted Miss Douglas speeding over 90 miles per hour and recklessly at about 7:45 a.m. She continued to drive without stopping as the patrol car with its siren on and emergency lights activated, pursuing her. That's one of the elements of eluding, is that you know the police are behind you and you continue to drive. According to the police, Miss Douglas was observed looking at her patrol vehicle from behind as her window was cracked open. After driving for about 5 miles, Douglas approached a 3-way stop where another deputy deployed the spike system in front of Miss Douglas's car. Douglas stopped her car before running over the spike strip and told police she was running late for her job as a housekeeping supervisor at a resort. The police responded that she could have stopped her vehicle when they activated their lights and sirens, and maybe she would have just got a citation. Instead, her refusal to stop made it criminal, and she got arrested. At this point, Miss Douglas mentioned twice that her bucket list was in high school that she had was to be arrested for something simple. The police officer explained that she's now fulfilled her bucket list. During a recent court appearance, Miss Douglas, who has no prior criminal history, entered into a pretrial intervention agreement calling for her to do 96 hours of community service and pay a $750 payment in fines and court costs. She also has to write a letter of apology to the police officers. If she stays out of trouble for the next 12 months and complies with the agreement, the case will be dismissed. If not, the original charges of felony eluding will be reinstated. All right, Ms. Douglas, you got a break for doing something dumb for dumb reasons. Don't screw it up. All right? I'm wishing you luck on this one. Do good. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.